All right. So, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Katie Sanford, and I am here with Traci Bernard. Hi, Traci.
Hey, everybody.
So glad she took the time to talk with us today. She is CEO of Texas Harris Method. Texas. We just went over this. Texas.
I'll do it. How about if I say
Yes,
it?
you tell me.
All right. Texas Health, Harris Methodist Hospital, Southlake. We do it just to confuse people, Katie.
Yeah, I was going to mix it up. It was bound to happen. So, yes, you heard that. She runs the hospital in Southlake, and she's incredible.
Perfect.
We actually have had the privilege of her speaking at one of our Diamond League luncheons, and I've got so much from it. She had so many great ideas and tips and knowledge and things to share with us. And then she's agreed to talk with us today to share a little bit more of the things she's learned on her journey. So, hello, Traci. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So probably, a lot of the people that and I know probably know that I'm actually a nurse by trade. So I got involved in healthcare through that route. And I tell people all the time, I don't know, and I think this is important for young girls to realize, I don't know that nursing was actually my calling. I did it because my mom had been in nurses training when she married my dad, and she didn't get to finish nurses training, had 3 kids right away. And I think maybe I lived out her dream, but I tell people all the time, you can't make a mistake. Like, God will figure out how to use your strengths and your talents and your ability, regardless. And I just kept following my passion. And my passion has always been to problem solve, to be in front of things. I'm a communicator. I'm strategic. I can see big pictures. I'm an achiever. I like to get things done. I like people. I like to rally people around me. And so quality became a really great fit for me as healthcare was evolving in the quality arena. And that's how I really got involved in leadership. And then again, I wasn't afraid to move. I wasn't afraid to take risks. I don't know if I was always 100% qualified for the position that I was walking into, but I knew that I could always find people smarter than me and learn from them, and that I could definitely get myself in a place where I was comfortable in the position. So when I was 32 years old, I moved to Texas, got a job with Baylor Grapevine. Then when I was 40, I moved over to the hospital that I'm at right now. So been in the market now and been in the C-suite for well over almost 30 years. So it's been a fun ride. But, definitely I think leadership was my calling. And being able to make an impact. And that's what's important to me.
And I think you have. I think anybody that I've talked to that knows you has nothing but amazing things to say about you. And in the little time that I've been blessed to know you, I can speak the same just as highly as anybody else. So I think that's amazing. And so I know you mentioned that you said leadership felt like a calling to you, right? So on that note, what would you say to somebody that maybe feels that calling, but might have maybe a reservation or a fear or, something also holding them back at the same time? Like, have you ever felt that where you feel like you want to do it, but you're unsure? Have you dealt with that at all in your journey? And how did you overcome it if you did?
Absolutely. Because I think it's a willingness to take risks. And most of us tend to be a little risk averse. Mm-hmm. And I think particularly, and one of the things you and I had talked about, particularly as women, I think a lot of times we don't give ourselves credit. And as I said earlier, I don't know that I was 100% prepared for every job that I took. But what I learned is that a man will apply for the same job I apply for, and he may have 50% of the skills needed, and I had 75%, but they weren't afraid to step in and take on the challenge and the role and the responsibility. But I think as women, sometimes we're very reluctant to claim our achievements. And we also expect that people are just going to spontaneously notice what we've done and reward us for that. And, when you look at men, they're not afraid to tell their bosses and to tell people the accomplishments and the achievements. And I think we need to be more comfortable as women with that as well. I think we do a great job of building relationships, but we don't leverage relationships. And I tell people that, we're afraid to ask someone for help because we think, oh, they're busy, they've got a lot to do. But when people ask me, I never feel that way. I always feel flattered and humbled that somebody thought that I could help them. And I think we have to realize other people feel that same way. We also lies that we've built. And, I think overall, like my big tie the bow around it is that we minimize our work and our value. And I don't think that our male partners necessarily do that. And sometimes it prevents us from moving into roles that they probably have the same fears that we have, but they are willing to take the risk. And here's my thing: I've made moves that were not the right move, and 6 months later I realized it. And just because I went down the wrong path doesn't mean I can't course correct and end up where I'm supposed to be. So not every work decision I've made has been the right one. But then when I realized that, then it's time to go look and find the one that is the right one and take away from that all the learning opportunities that I had, even in the scenario that probably wasn't the best fit or the right decision.
I think you're absolutely right. I think we don't like to ask for help, and I think we do minimize ourselves a lot. And I think that's a great way to look at it. My takeaway with that part is, being flattered that somebody thinks that you can help them rather than being, oh, they're busy, they probably don't want me to add something else to their plate. I think that's actually a great way. And if you look at it that way, you might be more willing to ask for help or a favor or something like that to help. I think that's a good way to look at it. So on your journey, is there anything that you know now that you wish you'd have known when you started? I mean, I know we're learning things every day, but any of those big, like, man, I wish I'd always thought this way, like when I started, that you've come to that realization now?
When I look back, I think, I am where I am because of amazing people that were around me, smarter than me, pushing me, encouraging me. Um, but I think that the hard part of leadership for me was not everyone's going to like you.
Mhm.
Not making a decision is a decision.
Yeah.
And leadership is a lot harder than it looks.
Mhm.
And I think that a lot of times people get into leadership, and if we're doing leadership right, it should look easy.
Right.
And I think people get into it, and then they realize, whoa, I don't know if this was really what I signed up for. So, the younger version of me, maybe if I had, just understood that, maybe be quicker to make some decisions sometimes, that no decision is a decision. And that it's okay that you're not always going to be popular and your decisions aren't always going to be popular, because you have to make the decision that's right for the whole, not for the few.
I think that's an amazing point. I mean, even myself included, sometimes I struggle with making a decision. And I think that's probably a huge separator between women and men, because I feel like it's a lot easier for them to make a decision. I could be wrong, but even in my own, with my husband, it seems like making a decision is so easy for him. And I'll toil over which granite to pick for a month. And he's like, that one looks good, let's roll with it. Like
Yep,
it's something,
exactly.
yeah, something like that is so much harder for me to like just, pick it. And so I guess I feel a little better knowing that's a normal woman's trait, but we should
Well,
be better about it. And if it's the wrong one, it's okay, right? I think we're
right.
afraid to make the wrong decision. I don't
Well, and
think,
I think that's the important part too,
yeah.
is that it's okay to be wrong. I
Mhm.
mean, and I think leadership is not a lot different than raising kids. And you don't always make the right decisions for
No.
your kids. But the best thing you can do for your kids is humble yourself and go back and say, I wish mommy would have, done this a little bit different. And with employees too, to say, I'm not always going to do this exactly the right way. And I made a mistake and I'm sorry. And you're a stronger leader in their eyes when you're willing to do that. And I think we're afraid, and men and women are afraid to make decisions because it is going to be unpopular. And so they think if they don't make a decision, then nobody's mad at me. Well, when the reality of it is, not making a decision is frustrating and creating angst with people. And they are thinking less of you because you're not just going ahead and deciding, here's where we're going to go. And I need you to get on board with me and support this decision.
Absolutely. I think that's a great point. Because like you said, it won't always be popular. And it is, you said it is like raising your kids. There's things I wish I'd have done different that I know now. And, and you're absolutely right. It's not always the right decision. So I think that's a really, really good point. So in your, you're constantly growing and learning every day, I'm sure, in your field and your role. So what keeps you motivated for like, let me keep growing, let me keep, doing better and changing the right way and all these things? What keeps you motivated? Because I know a lot of women in leadership and all that, that burnout, that like, I'm just kind of, like, I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to do this. Like, that can be a real thing, especially with these last couple of years we've had. How have you stayed motivated to just keep going?
Do you know, I did a whole session for a group on resilience because I feel like there were two types of people that came out of COVID. And, we can say that regardless of when we just get in that slump of I'm burnt out, I'm tired, I'm not motivated to do this anymore. And, the one main thing, and there were a whole list of things that resilient people tend to do, and the simple things: eat right, sleep, take care of yourself diet wise, all of that. But then the other part was that they were others centered and not self centered. And so, I think when I start getting kind of like, oh, poor Traci mode, it helps to be either involved in organizations where you're giving back because, we have been so blessed, or look for people in your life that have it so much harder than you do. And I have a message that I sent out to my leaders the other day that, the people without a job would give anything to have your job. The people that are homeless would give anything to have your health. The people that are sick would give any, or have your health, your home, your health. And it just kind of went on. And it's like how easy it is to get kind of caught up in the every day of what we do. And instead of looking at ways that we can bless others, which blesses ourselves. The other thing I will say to that is that I feel like if you don't continue to learn and grow and develop, your organization, your job, your business is going to outgrow you. And I have had a lot of leaders that I've had to say to them, you got us where we are today, but because of your lack of willingness to continue to grow and develop and educate and train yourselves, we as an organization have outgrown you, and you're not going to be able to take us where we need to be. And that has always been a motivator for me because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the one that someone's sitting down with me saying, this organization has outgrown you, Traci. And I know there are instances where it's gotten, it's gotten too big and it's beyond their education level. I get that. But when it's just about continuing to grow and develop as a leader and continue to grow and develop yourself, then that's on you. And that's an accountability thing that some people don't want to take the responsibility to be a better version of themselves every day. What can I learn from today that I'm going to take into tomorrow?
I think you're absolutely right. And that's a commitment in itself, like constantly bettering yourself. And I think some women probably, and maybe men too, but they almost feel like if I'm worried about myself in that aspect, maybe I'm being selfish or something. I think they think that, but to piggyback off what you're saying, if you're better, you can be better for everybody else, which is really the main goal, right? So that's a very good point.
That's why I always use leadership and marriages and parenting. If our marriage isn't strong and we're not together and we're not in a good place, we're not going to be good parents. And it's the same with being a leader in a hospital, is that you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of other people. And continue to grow and develop. And there's so many resources that make it easy, whether it's reading or YouTube or, there's a lot available.
No, you're absolutely right. And, me and my husband were actually having that conversation. I think people think you can separate, work or your profession and home and relationships and friendships into boxes, but you really can. It's
Right.
all encompassing. Like you said, if you're not good here, this is also going to suffer, and so you're absolutely right on
Well,
that.
and my husband always says whenever I'm doing a leadership book or leadership training, he's like, okay, now what are you going to bring home? Because it translates to both areas of our lives. So
It does. It does. And I think the whole well-rounded, that self-care and development bleeds into everything. So you're absolutely right. And that's a fantastic point that if you're not doing well, you can't everywhere else. And everybody needs
exactly.
you. We all have something that the world needs.
That's
Um,
right.
so working on that is actually selfless. So I think that's
Exactly.
an amazing point. So what would you say on like to a young woman maybe looking to get into leadership or just something like what should she start working on first, or what's the most important thing that you would say if you want to get into a leadership role? Maybe she's a nurse and wants to become charge nurse, or whatever that looks like. What steps did you take to get there initially?
Always look for opportunities that are in front of you. Don't be afraid to say yes. Get involved. Um, Make a presence for yourself. So make yourself known. Are you an informal leader in your department? Because those are the people that we recognize.
Mhm.
And those are the people that are already demonstrating leadership skills, which, goes over and beyond your clinical skills or, whatever your skill set is. So I got involved in quality improvement teams. If there was an opportunity for my voice to be heard, I was part of that. I was part of process improvement. How can we make things better? And just not being afraid to make suggestions, make changes, be a part of things, take a risk. That piece, the other, and then the reason I kind of got sidetracked in my head is because the other thing is, I think, understanding your skill set too. So I am a big advocate of the Clifton strengths and understanding who you are. And leadership isn't for everyone, and it's okay. And that's one thing we try to send that message to our team at the hospital is we're all leaders. Everybody's leading. You're either leading positively, you're leading negatively, but you're leading.
Mhm.
And so you don't have to have a formal leadership title to be a leader. And it isn't for everybody. And with your passion, then you will make a ton of money and you will be happy and you will be my definition of success.
I think that's amazing advice. I mean, just making yourself heard and realizing um, your opinions and thoughts matter. I think a lot of us
Yep.
kind of think they don't, maybe, and
Right.
and they do. They do. So I think that that's great advice. So I'm gonna like get off this call all motivated, ready to go change the world
Well, good.
and
Oh,
run
good.
something. Um, so
Good.
I
You
think
do run something.
well, you are full of just tons of just uplifting good advice and knowledge,
Thank you.
and I appreciate you sharing that with us. And is there like anything, because I know that you're a busy lady too, I don't want to take a ton of your time. Is there anything else that you might want to close with, or a piece of advice or anything else that you might want to share before I let you go today?
The one other big lesson that I learned in my life, and I'll end with this, is that we often wear perfectionism as a badge of honor,
Mhm.
when in fact, perfection is something you will never achieve and never accomplish. And if you get to the root of it, it's really about shame and blame. So it really isn't a positive trait. And I think too often we go, oh, I'm just such a perfectionist. And the reality of it is, we're so afraid of making a mistake, or we're so afraid of not living up to other people's expectations. So, I tell people, give yourself a break because nobody's perfect. Remember that when the person sitting in front of you has made a mistake, because you want that same grace when it's you. And I've never yet to meet a perfect person on the face of the earth. So,
And I think, who was it that said that? Was it Winston Churchill? I don't want to quote this wrong, but one of them said to be perfect is to keep changing, to realize it's not just set this way. I'll have to
yeah,
find the quote because I don't want to mess that up. But I know that that's one of them. And just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying is they, to constantly growing and changing, and once you figure it out and it works this way, then you look at it and how can we improve that?
right,
So I think there's not you made it and you're done and you stay here.
right.
So I think you're right. I think once we all give ourselves some grace and realize we have a voice and gifts and we need to share them and step out there, then, we can share all our gifts with everybody. So
Absolutely.
if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe for whatever reason, how could they find Traci?
So two ways. It's pretty easy if you look up our website. You can definitely get to the hospital and ask for me. But also, my email address is just my name, so it's Traci H is my middle initial, Bernard at texashealth.org. So happy to help anybody that I can. A lot of people help me get where I am.
Mm-hmm. And I think you probably just helped a lot of people too. So
Thank you.
we appreciate your time today and sharing with us. And thank you so much, Traci.
Thank you.
That you're willing to speak with us and share your time and your gifts. And
Well, thank you for asking. I'm humbled.
Well, thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.